Good evening, viewers. Welcome to our podcast Bharat and Geopolitics, where we unravel the mysteries of ancient Indian wisdom. I am your host here, Hari Prakash Sinha, your guide on this journey. Today, we ask a profound question. Can India share its timeless wisdom with the world? Join us as we explore the challenges and possibilities of bridging ancient Indian teachings with the modern global audience. Get ready for a mind expanding conversation that just might change how you see the world. Join me in welcoming our distinguished speaker. Welcome, Dr. Adityanjee. Welcome to our platform. We are thrilled to have you join us on Bharat and Geopolitics. Your insights and expertise on the topic of ancient Indian wisdom and geopolitics are sure to enrich our discussion and captivate our audience. As a president of the Council for Strategic Affairs, you bring a unique perspective that will help us shed light on the complexities of sharing India's profound teachings with the world. Thank you for sharing your time and wisdom with us. We are excited to embark on this journey, enlightening on this enlightening journey together. Let's
Thank you,
dive in.
Mr. Sinha. Thank you very much indeed for inviting me.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Let's dive in and explore the depths of ancient Indian wisdom. So, the very first question that I have on my mind, do you think that India should share her ancient Indian wisdom with the world?
I don't see any reason why we should not. We have always done that. If you look at Bharat's civilizing role and civilizational role in what we call today Southeast Asia, we have footprints, our cultural, spiritual, and civilizational influences as far as Philippines
Yes.
and the current nations that constitute not just ASEAN, Association of Southeast Asian Nations, but as far as Japan, South Korea, a former Indochina. So we have done this in the past, and there's no reason why we should be diffident in extending our ancient wisdom, cultural, spiritual, and civilizational knowledge with other countries, just like we are sharing yoga at this point in time.
Right, sir. So, sir, do you think that India will face any challenges when it tries to do so?
Whenever you try to do something positive, there are always challenges. There are always some roadblocks. There are always naysayers. If I may recall, the naysayers have been saying since 1947 that India will break up as a nation.
Yeah.
Most of the Western, uh, geopolitics experts have been saying India is too fragile a nation that it will break up. So there are people who have been working very hard on that. And as India's, or rather, I should say, Bharat's international profile is rising, there are naysayers even now. One is on our western border, other is on our northern border, and we have a lot of detractors sitting in the west. So yes, they will try, but when a nation is rising, ascending, rediscovering itself, nobody else can stop it. And India is in that phase that we are realizing our ancient wisdoms, our ancient culture, And we are very self-confident at this point in time uh, in expanding our influence, not just the geopolitical influence, but also the cultural influence and civilizational influence. It gets reflected in International Yoga Day, International Solar Alliance. It reflects in, Vaccine Maitri Abhiyan. We are sharing what we have in a reasonable manner. So yes, there will be some people that will stop, but yes, we have to continue to do what we are doing in a much more thoughtful and planned manner. And if I may say, while talking about diplomacy, there are multiple aspects of diplomacy. And of course, we have talked about cultural diplomacy. And since Harvard academic uh, Joseph Nye coined the term soft power in 1980s, the Western world has got very sort of attracted to that concept. And in the area of diplomacy and geopolitics, we talk about soft power, hard power, and smart power. So time has come for a modern rising India to use all the tools in the diplomatic toolbox that include traditional diplomacy, military diplomacy, economic and mercantile or commercial diplomacy, but not forget about cultural diplomacy. And there's a role for it. We have done it in the past, and we can do it now as well as in the future.
So, some of the challenges that I have on my mind that India might face. So, I am just highlighting some of the challenges that you can uh, give me your suggestions how this should be dealt with. The very first challenge is the related to cultural and linguistic, because our ancient wisdom has been written in Sanskrit. It is not very popular abroad actually. So, how other cultures can be motivated to see the value that is hidden in our scriptures?
Uh, if you see, even now, the Thai monarchy is very much attuned to cultural influence of Bharat. The current Thai king has the title of King Rama the 10th. Uh, the sister of the former king was a patron of Sanskrit language. If you go to Japan, their Shinto shrines, they have a lot of Sanatan influence. In fact, there are, temples dedicated to Lord Ganesha, to Saraswati. Of course, the names are different, and some of the mantras they chant in Japanese are actually in Sanskrit with a Japanese accent and Japanese pronunciation. So it has been done in the past. Whole of the Southeast Asia or former Indochina was under cultural and civilizational influence of Bharat till medieval times. And of course, our geography shrunk. I think what we need to do is to start building up our traditional ties with the nations in Asia. And one way of doing that would be a resurgent Bharat to create chairs in Sanskrit language in all the nations that constitute ASEAN. So at next ASEAN India Summit, the MEA, which is Ministry of External Affairs, should come with a proposal by which it will be part of our cultural and educational diplomacy that maybe we create initially a Sanskrit chair and then a Sanskrit university in all the 11 nations of Southeast Asian Association of Southeast Asian Nations. Nobody is going to do that. We'll have to take the responsibility and we'll have to do the investments.
Like,
Uh,
like
un-
we have the Sanskrit University in India. There are several
we have
Sanskrit.
in India, but we don't have in Southeast Asia. So
Yeah,
what I'm trying to say that we need to expand this. We need to send our cultural emissaries using soft power, using cultural diplomacy, uh, by initially establishing chairs in Sanskrit literature and language in these nations, but subsequently even starting wholesale kind of, complete Sanskrit universities like we have in Bharat.
yeah, yes,
Having it in their own country will encourage more scholars to learn Sanskrit. And once they learn Sanskrit, they will understand the cultural, the spiritual wisdom of Bharat that we were known for. So that would be one concrete step by which we can eliminate resistance. And we
right.
have to start with the familiar territory.
Yeah,
If we start with the familiar territory, which is Asian nations, in the east and south of us,
yeah,
that would be a good beginning. The other thing is that we need to again put our soft diplomacy by trying to, you know, indulge in cultural conflict resolution in this area. So we know that there are some lingering conflicts in Southeast Asia. I'll give you example because I've written on this. There's a conflict. There's a border conflict with Thailand and Cambodia. Okay.
see,
Both are members of ASEAN. Both are Buddhist nations. Okay.
yeah,
There's a temple complex. It is called Prasad Priya Vihar. It was built in 19th century by a Khmer king, Yashovarman. It's
okay,
on the border of Thailand and Cambodia. And there's a conflict between these two countries. It was a UNESCO heritage site, and both the countries went to international arbitration, this, that. International arbitration actually ruled in favor of Cambodia, but Thailand refused to agree to it, and there were some skirmishes between Thailand and Cambodia. Why could not government of Bharat mediate between the two countries? Both are friendly countries.
yeah,
Both have, you know, dharmic influences. And it was originally the Priya Vihar complex, temple complex, was started as a Shiva temple. And as Buddhism became more dominant force in that part of the world, it was subsequently reused as a Buddhist temple. So what I'm saying is that we need to extend our cultural influence by indulging in cultural diplomacy, using Bharat's soft power, by going for conflict resolution in Asia, which becomes a win-win-win situation.
right.
If we can, lower the tensions in these two nations, that will be good for both these nations, but also good for Bharat.
Yeah,
So it is a win-win-win situation.
yeah,
Unfortunately, the Ministry of External Affairs, does not think in terms of cultural diplomacy in a grand manner. I think it is time to revamp the MEA. So not only we talk about, the hard power issues, the economic, commercial, and mercantile issue. You might have seen that we just signed an trade and economic partnership agreement with EFTA group of nations, which are four nations: Norway, Switzerland, Liechtenstein, and there's Iceland. And these countries will invest $100 billion in India in return for zero tariffs against products coming from those countries. The 100 billion will be invested over a period of 15 years. I think that is very well and good. MEA has economic and commercial diplomacy. All our, or majority of our embassies and high commissions have military attaché, but we don't have cultural attaches. We don't have a grand plan for using Bharat's soft power for diplomacy. And this is what I'm advocating by establishing Sanskrit chairs or Sanskrit universities, by dealing with conflicts. They are not only conflicts with Thailand and Cambodia, but they are conflicts between Thailand and Laos. They are conflicts between, Laos and Vietnam. Again, these are Southeast Asian countries, and we can use our good offices to lower down the tensions. Some of them are historical legacies, but I think if we use our dharmic conflict resolution principles, we should be able to work with these nations and extend our influence.
Yes, that's a very good idea, sir. And it should be listened to by my government actually. So I am moving to the next point. There is a risk of a misinterpretation and misrepresentation, like we see in the case of yoga. In the West, yoga is people are rebranding yoga and they are presenting it in a different manner. So that could happen to our scriptures also. So
that is already happening. I'm not surprised. And this is why I'm focusing more on Asia rather than on the West, because Western tendencies have been to pillory, pillage, and exploit. And that is what West has done historically during colonial times and even in these times. So yes, yoga is being rebranded as Jesus yoga. There are some people in the West, in America, who say that yoga was created in 20th century. It's part of some British calisthenics and American invention. So they cannot just stomach anything, and they try to dissociate yoga as just physical exercises devoid of its, spiritual and philosophical underpinnings. Similarly, the Sanskritists based in Harvard and University of Chicago are misinterpreting, or for that matter, Audrey Truschke misinterpreting Sanskrit literature.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is consolidate our cultural and civilizational influences in the constituency that matters to us, people who are much closer to us and people who are more willing to listen to us. That's the way to go. Because people who are absolutely, absolutely biased, there's no point getting into conversation with them, because they will, whatever proof you bring out, they are not going to agree with you because they have one point agenda. That agenda is to bring down India. And if you want to continue to have dialogue with them, you're wasting your resources and your strength. So start with where you can influence people, influence the minds and soul, minds and hearts, and take it from there.
Right. So that really solves a lot of problem, a number of challenges actually, because when we promote this, our ancient Indian wisdom in the Asian area, in our neighboring country. So the another challenge with the other culture is relevance and application. How other cultures can be motivated to see the relevance and application of our ancient Indian wisdom today. Even our own Indian culture has changed considerably in modern times. So even this problem can be addressed, and very well it can be addressed if you are trying to just explore the nearby area, nearby country, neighboring countries, I mean.
Nothing is static in life. Everything is dynamic, everything is changing. We cannot be very static. What is required is continuity. And any kind of development and advancement with continuity is required. Advancement does not mean discarding the past altogether.
Yeah.
All the advances are made on the foundation of previous achievements.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. People say that there's a contradiction between modern medicine and Ayurveda. Not so. These are not diametrically opposite. Modern medicine is based on the advances of Ayurveda. There are descriptions of surgery in Sushrut Samhita.
Yeah.
Graphic pictures of tools, surgical tools, description of plastic surgical procedures like rhinoplasty. There are descriptions of fetal development in ancient Indian texts.
Yeah.
There are descriptions of modern mental illness in certain ways in Charak Samhita. So any past achievement leads to further advancement, and the current advancement is based on the past achievements. For that matter, now it is very clear that in Newton's three laws were derived from Bharat. So again, what I'm saying is that let's not forget the past, but let's not be oblivious to the possibility of future advances. And that is what is going to change the hearts and minds and souls. That any achievement should not be bereft of the past experiences.
Yes.
I'll give you an example. You go to Thailand, the airport is called Swarnabhumi International Airport.
Yeah.
And there are pictures and depictions from Ramayana, etc. So our influences are very well known in that part of the world.
Yeah. So I'm just coming up with a question related to medicine.
Hmm.
We consider the Ayurveda and the modern medicine. I think the fundamental difference is the Ayurvedic medicine are derived from the natural herbs and all that, whereas the modern medicine are made in laboratory. So there is nothing
Uh,
natural actually.
Not necessarily, you are mistaken. What is the concept of antibiotics? Antibiotics are produced in living organisms, and yet they are targeted at the. So, what was the source of penicillin? It was from a fungus, which is a plant product. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, Reserpine was derived from Rauwolfia serpentina, a plant. Entire modern medicine, despite the advances, is also based on whatever healing techniques are there. There's a big role for wellness techniques now. So again, I would not see that as opposite poles. A lot of modern medicines are plant derived. Not everything is synthetic. Yes, because we can synthesize certain medicines now, it does not mean the roots of those medicines that were originally obtained from the plant products or animal products or something like that. But again, coming to the topic, I think we need to be very self-confident in promoting our civilizational, cultural, spiritual influences in Asia, which is much more receptive to our ideas,
Yes.
where we had our historical role, which went up to as far as Philippines, uh, and we should not shy away from that, taking that as our brothers and as our allies, rather than focusing exclusively on relationship with the West.
Yes. You're very much right. So the next point is secularism and diversity. Secularism is a big challenge in our own country, and if we are targeting our neighboring countries, then I think diversity is not a thing actually, it's not a problem. So am I right?
See, secularism is a very, controversial concept, and it's defined differently in different contexts. Unfortunately, in modern Indian politics, it has come to mean appeasement of a certain minority population for purposes of vote.
Right.
Actually, it is not that. But again, if we are trying to relate to our Asian nations, I think we can just forget about this controversy created by secularism. I would, in fact, go to the extent of proposing a new alliance of nations where our ideas, our civilizational, our spiritual, and philosophical influence has been there.
Right.
We can create a new grouping. Just like in diplomacy, we are always creating new alliances and new groupings,
Right.
plurilaterals and minilaterals. I would suggest that we create an alliance, or let's say a new grouping based on dharma principles. I can tell you that if we create, in fact, I have an acronym for this, DANAM.
Danam.
Yes.
What is the stands for?
DANAM stands for Dharma Associations of Nations of Asian Mahadweep.
Great.
Let's say we invite countries like, and there are 13, 14 countries in Asia that are under dharmic influence, have been governed on principles of dharma. Let's start from our own neighborhood, starting with Bhutan, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Mauritius. Then let's go to Myanmar, Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, Japan, South Korea, Mongolia, 14, 15 nations.
Yeah.
They are either Buddhist nations or under Dharma influence. We have a lot of cultural similarities. So why can't we create an association of Dharma nations called Dhanam?
Yes.
This would be a diplomatic tool. It would be an out-of-box solution for some of the dissonance we get on international platforms. This would be the way to extend Bharat's civilizational influence.
Right, sir.
I hope MEL listens to this suggestion and implements it concretely.
It's really a very good idea, sir. So now my last point is education and awareness can be another big challenge. It will take a huge amount of time, effort and resources to educate people and create awareness. How do you think India can deal with it?
So ancient Bharat had world-class universities, whether that was at Nalanda or Takshashila. And again, when I say give the suggestion that we need to create our universities in Asian nations, education will definitely be addressed, not just in Bharat, In fact, in last 10 years, we have a massive expansion in educational sector, whether it is number of IITs, number of All India Institute of Medical Sciences, number of universities, number of medical colleges, and number of privately funded universities. Because we have a mismatch in Bharat between demand and supply. The demand for students for higher education is increasing. That leads to students from Bharat going to Western universities, whether it is United States, UK, Canada, Australia. And of course, you know that some of them went to even Ukraine and Russia and China.
Yeah.
Why can't we create more educational higher institutions in Bharat itself so that the money that gets spent on sending these, I can understand somebody going for, let's say, tertiary college education like PhD or postdoctoral. But why should somebody go to a foreign university for a bachelor's degree? At this point in time, there are around 269,000 students from India in US universities. Not all of them are doing master's or doctoral level studies. A number of them are doing their first degree, bachelor's level degree in US universities. So we have to create our own infrastructure. And I think there is now some extension of Indian universities in West Asia, things like that. So we are taking up the challenge slowly, but we have to be very confident that our top level institutions can, offer educational challenges to other nations, students from other nations, and we need to expand.
So thank you so much, sir. That all the question I had on my mind on this topic. So this is actually a very vast topic, and we will be discussing more and more on this topic further. So that's all for today. So I would just like to end this session. So as we come to the end of the another insightful episode, we want to extend our heartfelt gratitude to our guest speaker for sharing their wisdom and expertise. We hope you found today's discussion enlightening and thought-provoking. If you enjoyed the episode and want to stay updated on future conversations, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. Your support means a lot to us. Subscribing ensures you never miss an episode. Together, let's continue to uncover these timeless truths that shape our understanding of the world. Thank you for listening. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring. So thank you, Dr. Adityanjee. Thank you so much for your time. It was really very enlightening. And I hope our leaders listen to us and take some steps in this direction.
Thank you, Mr. Sinha. It's always pleasure to come on your platform. And I hope your platform would be a via media by which the policy planners can listen to my suggestions.
Yeah, sure. So